Welcome to the Soul Touched by Dogs podcast, the show for dog lovers who see dogs not as toys or tools, but wise souls worth our respect and care. I'm Anke Herman, and I'm your host. I talk to awesome humans, people who do great work for dogs and their people. So come and join us for today's conversation. Well, hello and welcome, Vivian. I'm super excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Anka. I'm really delighted. I'm thrilled to be here. I've been looking forward to speaking with you.
Me too, me too. So let people know, let's start straight in. Where are you based and, what's your business with dogs?
Sure. So I am presently located right outside Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States. It's about, I'm in a town called Waltham, about 7 miles west. But I frequent all over Boston, the whole area. I drive about maybe 20 to 30 miles to meet with clients. I work with clients in their homes, and I am a human dog relationship therapist, which is a thing. So I come from the training world. I studied and practiced, learned about training, dog training years and years ago. I stumbled into the dog training profession because of my own dogs. I was interested to learn more about them. And there was also a need where I was living for pet services. And so I began a dog walking business and I learned a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, there were, and then I started to meet people who were using certain equipment that I maybe didn't understand or didn't agree with. And I wanted to help educate people on the world of the dog. And as I learned more about dogs, I studied certainly became certified in dog training here in the United States. There's a few credentialing bodies. So I went through the path of the Council of Certified Professional Dog Trainers and became certified fear-free. Started working with a veterinarian. He and I became friends in the Boston area, and I would shadow him and his staff. And so we worked together. I would work with him and I learned more about clinical medicine with small animals and a whole world opened up. And it was just so intriguing, to understand. To learn about a different animal, right, that we live with. And yeah, and so that brought me into I was sort of this nerd. I am a nerd when it comes to dogs. I'm a sort of a closet nerd. And I was also a junkie, and Mark Beckoff, Dr. Nicholas Dodman, Sue Sternberg, Dr. Susan Friedman. There's so many wonderful animal psychologists, animal research, ethologists, veterinarians, and I'd buy their books and read everything that I could, go to the seminars and such. And I met Dr. Nicholas Dodman, and I asked him if I could work with him or I could volunteer. And he at the time was starting the Center for Canine Behavior Studies. And I was really interested in having access to him because I was working cases, with behavior modification training. And also just the mission that they have is similar to what I believe and want to do, educate people about human dog relationships and help reduce the risk of bites to to people, and also surrenders, right, to reduce the risk of surrenders. This is all big, this is all a lot, right? But if I could just work with him, I would be so happy. And in fact, he and Chris Janelli interviewed a number of people. I was hired volunteering. You don't really get paid. But I got to work on studies, which was new to me. So working on so the research that we do at the center, they're survey studies. And so we have a wonderful statistician who helps decipher the data. So I had one foot there, and then I was really interested in, again, furthering my education, and I tapped into Dr. Mark Beckhoff is on our advisory board, so I emailed him. He's lovely. He emails me back. He gave me some guidance about uh, different uh, wonderful because I was confused on what I should do. Should I go neuroscience? What should I do for a master's of science degree? Because that's a big commitment, right? And
Yeah.
expensive. But he introduced anthrozoology, the study of human animal relations and the different facets of human animal relationships. And that opened up another world for me, learning about the Umwelt, which you're probably familiar with, and just seeing our animals, our dogs, our pets, our cats, seeing a different perspective. That blew my mind. And so it was a lot of work and I really enjoyed it. And it is still a lot of work. And for a little period of time, I was not taking as many clients because it was just too overwhelming. And I was also taking care of my mother. My mother is 94 years old. She's a big part of my life. So that's why I'm talking about her. And so my husband and I have been caretaking her. And, we are all managing a lot in our lives, right?
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but but lately, um, I I want to say in the past couple of years, I've taken on more clients. I'm back to managing about five, six. I offer again. It's a very long, 3 month program where I evaluate and help people understand the function of their animals or their pet dogs' behaviors. A lot of people are suffering. They may have acquired a dog, not understanding that they had a learned past, right? They had a history, or maybe the pet dog uh, companion develops something over time. Uh, they might acquire the dog through a rescue or a breeder, and they might not understand that they're an individual, you
Yeah,
know?
I actually must say I really only understood that when the second dog came into my life. Because obviously you start, I mean, I don't know, not obviously, I started out one little dog in the street. Oh, I have a dog, right? And so, like that's how the learning starts. And I didn't really catch on to how different they actually are until the second and then third dog. Like I've never had more than three at a time, but you see how they're totally different. And they're in the same household. They're in the same. They grow up with
Right.
with the same people. So it's like, isn't that interesting? And I never really gave that much thought before I had the experience. So if you and I kind of totally get it because I always wanted a dog, but I didn't even go to a breeder or rescue. Like little
You
relayo
found,
found me in the street. They all did, except the last one. And so it was like I was prepared and I wasn't,
mm,
so I kind of wanted it, but I also like, yeah, there's only so much you can do until you have a dog, and in your experience working with people who kind of find that, okay, this having a dog thing isn't quite what I expected, right? So what is like, if are there certain things that you wish people knew about?
with with respect to the challenge, with respect to dogs, I wish that they understood that they do talk to us, they communicate to us. Um, and that's really that communication is unfortunately, we talk. Use words, right? And we overlook the fact that our dogs don't, right? If people could understand that our dogs do communicate, they are providing information through their signaling, right? But they're also understanding how we feel through smelling us, through observing us, right? And so they learn the same way as we do through positive and negative associations, you know. So I wish people maybe invested a little bit more time, just a little bit in learning theory. It doesn't have to be, you know,
And it would
just to
help them
understand.
too, right?
Yes. Our psychology is very similar.
Mm.
Our psychology is very similar, um, and I don't want to make this about promoting my book,
Well, why
but
not? Let's do
but
it.
that but I that's I write about um, my book is entitled "Being a Good Dog in the Humans World," and I go over the some of the issues that we stumble upon knowingly or unknowingly. I talk about guardianship and ownership, the differences. What is there a difference? Why does it matter if we think of ourselves as an owner versus a guardian? Because it does affect how we behave as caretakers, right?
Mm.
Um, and I know someone might think, you're getting, it's all terminology, but it does affect us in our behavior. I talk about the Umwelt. I try to give people a perspective from what it is like to be a dog. We'll never really know because we're humans, right? But emotionally, we are the same. I talk about training. I talk about our relationship, how we became friends, the history of the dog and human, where it goes wrong. I just want, I don't, it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's more factual. It's all evidence based. And it's up to people, to, if they're interested in diving in a little bit deeper, maybe reflecting upon themselves. I talk about some cases I've worked on. Not all of them were successful.
Mm.
Unfortunately, we sometimes, uh, you know, we want things easy and we might make mistakes. Sometimes, you know, we make mistakes that can be hurtful. Uh, anyway, it's not a sad book. It's just, it's a factual book. Took me a long time to write. Um, oh, and then I have another one coming out. It's the next one's going to be fiction, and it's about a dog that I write in the first book, chapter 7.
Now
But
you know how to
that
tease, right? Now we have to get the first book to understand the second one, right?
not the second one is it's on pet loss
Oh, mm.
because there I go again. I didn't mean to get sad, but the one of the dogs, all of the dogs I fell in love with, all of the dogs, people I fell in love with. They're all wonderful. But this one dog ended up with cancer. Cammy, older dog, 9 years old. She lived. The second book talks about her journey from a puppy mill to a loving home. It talks about building confidence, resilience, and it's a lovely book. I found a beautiful illustrator in Poland, from Poland, um, who does all the illustration. We collaborated, and I educated her a little bit about the world of the dog and body language, and she was able to shape it. So I love it. I love it. I hope others will too. Anyway, so
That's
educating people is really important to me. Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
that's beautiful. It's um I mean, see what actually sparked me to even start this whole podcast and everything was that I saw so many times that people would use
like use dogs kind of like, oh, get a dog for the kid, right? And it's like, oh, it's just as if it was just a toy, right? And then it's either the dog needs to serve. I mean, that's, I don't know. I always think where I come from in Germany, it's not that extreme, but in Spain, certainly it is, right? So the dog's either a toy for the kids, or it's like a like guardian, or it's an emotional support dog. Like there's always like
Right,
it's a
right,
tool or it's a toy, And
right,
I
right.
never really felt that it appreciated the wisdom they have and how much they have to teach us. And I love how you come at this to sort of say, well, actually, if you understand, if you take a minute to try and look at the world through the eyes of a dog, you're never gonna look at the world the same again.
And you know what, Anga? It also helps us to understand other people, our animals, our animal friends, understanding. And that's something that was a revelation for me as well. When I began to, take a step back and understand what the dog was saying and how they were feeling based on what they were presenting, it then transfers to our looking at other people, right? And saying, okay, wait a minute, maybe that person's having a hard day. This person that cuts me off or yells at me, or what is the underlying, it's what is the underlying reason? What, taking that step back and saying, why, what could it be, right? And giving people more of a benefit of the doubt, just as we should with our animal friends, right?
Mm.
And it's interesting that you talk about the toys, that people, and they commodify our animals, and this is something I talk about as well. And um, I understand people have to make a living, and they get desperate, and you know they start breeding dogs in the backyard, and they're selling them, and but or they gift a dog to a child, um, and unfortunately, even with our toys, right? I don't mean to like go talk about many things right here, but I'm thinking about even our toys that we give children, right? That the little dog, and they're squeezing and they're holding and they're pulling, and so this is the way we introduce our animals to our dogs, which is not right. Because when this young child grows a little bit older, or maybe maybe even as a young child, then they're gifted a dog. They're treating the dog like a toy. They're mishandling the dog, and then dogs have teeth, right?
Exactly.
And
And
they
then it's
bite,
always the fault of the dog, right? Mm.
right? But then also the parents, and I understand this, they want to have, in terms of families, especially here in the United States and in Western cultures, we're seeing more and more dogs are part of the family and accepted into the family. And I appreciate that. But I think the pendulum is going too much to the right, in my opinion, that, dogs are called siblings and brothers. Um, and the reason why we just maybe want to take a step back is because when we think of our animal friends as a brother or sister, a biological brother, and we know as adults they are not, but a child doesn't. They're fantastical, right? Um, and we might also drop our defenses, right? And may not supervise. And then the child might tussle with the dog and pull the dog or bite the dog. And then the dog doesn't want to bite, but
Yeah.
everyone has a limit. So there's a lot that can go wrong when we bring two different species together, right? And
Without the
there's a lot that goes
respect.
right.
Yeah,
Huh?
but I think without that level of respect I think it is
Right.
a beautiful opportunity. If you get a dog for a child, it's a beautiful
Yes.
opportunity. I've
Yes.
had encounters that were horrible, where I'm thinking, well, I'm doing this education here that you parents over there were not even looking should have done. when little kids would come and like just, oh my God, a dog, and just kind of pounce on. And I was like, I was like, look, yeah, no, I wasn't friendly, But at the same time, there's a particular incident I remember. That little boy was maybe 5 years old. Like you could really tell in that little face, nobody had told him that. Like nobody had told him that he cannot just kind of pounce on a dog, And so, but at the same time, sometimes you meet little kids that have such a way and so gentle, and so you can tell they grew up. So it's a beautiful opportunity to introduce them right and to teach them
Right.
from this really young age of how to respect another being,
I agree.
And so I think there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of ways it can go wrong, when you sort of.
I agree. I agree. We at the center, we have an educational initiative, the CCBS, Center for Canine Behavior Studies, and we are producing animated videos for children. Yeah, we are now on our second. The first one is Pause to Prevent. And the second one that we're working on is Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. And they're just little vignettes, but they're designed for young children and their parents to understand body language and understand the idea of respect. And everyone has a personal bubble. Everyone meaning all animals, right? Human, dog, cat,
That
and
should go into schools, that should be
uh,
mandatory in schools,
yeah, it's free. It's a free resource, and we've connected with like the AVMA. Um, a lot of pediatricians are asking for it, so we're trying to get the word out, and that so we have the free videos and then also coloring books that are associated with it's so we're producing that. There's a series of 10, and then we're also working on artificial reality applications. Again, um, we've got a really talented designer on our team that is working again, Be Bite Smart, and moving it into the digital technology, which will be for a little older people or older children.
I love
Yeah.
that. I
So
love that.
we're
So where can
we're all
people.
trying.
Yeah, and I think it is about education. I've always said, like, this whole, dogs needing rescue and all this, like, nothing will fundamentally change until a new generation is taught something different. So I think it's that children need to be taught something different, for that to
Right.
change. So there's always the
Right.
band-aid and there's always people kind of helping right there in the front lines. But also the root of it is like that attitude towards animals. It's, oh, they just kind of like need to serve me, or it's like
Right.
that needs to be replaced with something, much more respectful,
I
I think.
agree.
Mm.
I agree.
And I
I
love that you're
agree.
kind of working in that direction. So where can people go and find out more about your books and about the initiative and and about
Sure.
you? Where we're going to
Sure.
send them?
If they go to vivianzottola.com, there's information about my books. There's information about the Center for Canine Behavior Studies or Be Bite Smart, and that'll take them where they need to go.
Awesome. So we'll obviously pop that if you're just listening. If you're just driving and listening, it's in the show notes, and it's definitely right below wherever you're watching this or listening to it. So thank you so much. It's absolutely delightful. You have such a calm presence. It's a real joy to hang out with you. So I very much enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so other dog lovers can find the show. If you haven't already, head over to soultouchedbydogs.com and sign up for weekly doggy cuteness, tips, recommendations, and personal stories to warm your dog-loving heart. And if you know a awesome human you think I should interview, I'd love an introduction. Email me at Anke, that's ANKE, @soultouchedbydogs.com.